The Vexari Empire had ruled the outer spiral for 3,000 years. They had conquered 47 species, destroyed 12 civilizations, and enslaved billions. Their warships darkened the skies of 100 worlds. Their soldiers were feared across the galaxy. When they spoke, lesser races listened. When they demanded, lesser races obeyed. So when they found the small human colony on Kepler 442b, they did not expect any trouble. The colony was called New Geneva. It had 12,000 people. They were farmers, teachers, doctors, and engineers. They had come to the distant planet to build a new life far from the crowded cities of Earth. They had no warships. They had no army. They had only their homes, their families, and their dreams. Admiral Zorthan of the Vexari Third Fleet looked at the planet on his viewing screen. He saw green forests, blue oceans, and small settlements scattered across the largest continent. His tactical officer told him there were no military installations, no orbital defenses, no weapons that could threaten his ships. "This will be easy," Zorthan said. His mandibles clicked together in what passed for a smile among his kind. "Send the ground forces. Capture them all. The humans will make excellent slaves." His second-in-command, a younger Vexari named Krath, tilted his head. "Admiral, are you certain this is wise? The humans have been difficult in other encounters." "Difficult?" Zorthan laughed. It was a harsh sound like rocks grinding together. "They are soft creatures. They break easily. They have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. What can they possibly do against the might of the Empire?" Krath did not answer. He had read the reports from the border skirmishes. He had seen the footage from the Battle of Proxima Station. But he was young, and the Admiral was old and powerful, and so he said nothing. The dropships fell from the sky like metal rain. The colonists of New Geneva had no warning. One moment they were eating breakfast, sending their children to school, going to work. The next moment, the sky was filled with alien ships and the air was filled with screaming. Maria Santos was a school teacher. She was 34 years old. She had been teaching the children of New Geneva for 5 years, and she loved her job. When the Vexari soldiers burst into her classroom, she did not run. She stood in front of her students with her arms spread wide. "You will not touch these children," she said. The Vexari soldier was 8 feet tall. He had 4 arms, gray skin, and black eyes that showed no emotion. He looked at this small human woman standing before him and felt something he had not felt in a long time. He did not know what to call it. Later, he would learn that it was called respect. But respect did not stop him from following orders. He pushed Maria aside and ordered his troops to take the children. Maria screamed and fought. She bit one soldier and kicked another. It took 3 of them to hold her down. And even then, she kept fighting, kept screaming, kept trying to reach her students. They took everyone. All 12,000 colonists were loaded onto prison ships and taken to the Vexari slave world of Korthax Prime. The journey took 2 weeks. During that time, the humans were given little food, less water, and no comfort. Many grew sick. Some grew angry. All of them were afraid. But fear is a strange thing. For some creatures, fear makes them weak. It makes them give up, surrender, accept their fate. The Vexari had seen this many times. They had broken countless species with fear alone. Humans were different. On the prison ship, in the dark and the cold, the humans began to organize. They whispered to each other through the bars of their cells. They shared information. They made plans. They did not know if they would survive. They did not know if anyone would come for them. But they knew one thing: they would not be easy victims. David Chen was a mechanic. He was 52 years old and he had spent 30 years fixing machines of all kinds. When the Vexari guards were not watching, he studied the locks on the cells. He memorized the patrol patterns. He counted the guards and noted their weapons. "We cannot fight them," whispered his cellmate, a young man named Thomas. "They are too strong, too many." David smiled. It was not a happy smile. "We do not need to fight them, not yet. We need to survive, we need to wait, and we need to be ready. Ready for what? Ready for when our people come. Thomas shook his head. New Geneva was a small colony. The Earth government probably does not even know we are missing yet. And even if they do, why would they send help? We are just farmers and teachers. We are nobody important. David put his hand on the young man's shoulder. You do not understand humans very well, do you? We do not leave our people behind, ever. It does not matter if you are a president or a farmer. It does not matter if saving you is easy or hard. When one of us is taken, all of us feel it, and all of us respond. Thomas wanted to believe him, but as the days passed and no rescue came, hope began to fade. On Earth, it took 3 days for the news to reach the United Human Alliance. A supply ship had arrived at New Geneva to find the colony empty. The buildings were damaged. There were signs of weapons fire, and there were Vexari footprints in the soil. President Elena Vasquez read the report in silence. She was a small woman with gray hair and eyes that had seen too much. She had been a soldier before she was a politician. She had fought in the Centauri War and the Mars Uprising. She knew what war looked like. She knew its cost. She also knew that there was no choice here. Not really. Get me the Joint Chiefs, she said, and get me Admiral Harrison. Her aide hesitated. Ma'am, the Vexari Empire is powerful. They have hundreds of warships. They have conquered dozens of species. If we go to war with them. We are already at war, Vasquez said. They started it when they took our people. Now we are going to finish it. She stood and walked to the window. Outside, the sun was setting over the mountains. The sky was painted in shades of red and gold. It was beautiful. It was peaceful. It was everything the colonists of New Geneva would never see again unless she acted. There are 12,000 of our citizens in enemy hands, she said. 12,000 men, women, and children who went to sleep one night thinking they were safe and woke up to find themselves slaves. I will not abandon them. I do not care how powerful the Vexari are. I do not care how many ships they have. We are going to get our people back, and we are going to make the Empire pay for every single tear, every single bruise, every single moment of fear. Her aide swallowed hard. Yes, ma'am. One more thing, Vasquez said. Find out everything we know about the Vexari, their strengths, their weaknesses, their history. If we are going to war, we are going to do it right. Within hours, the message went out to every human ship, every human station, every human colony in the galaxy. It was a simple message, just 3 words, but those 3 words would change the course of history. Bring them home. On Corthax Prime, the human prisoners were put to work in the mines. The mines were deep and dark and full of toxic gases. The work was hard. The guards were cruel. Many prisoners had already died. But the humans did not break. Maria Santos organized the women and children. She set up makeshift schools in the corners of the barracks. She taught the children to read and write and do math. She told them stories about Earth, about blue skies and green grass and oceans that stretched to the horizon. Why do you bother? Asked the Vexari guard one day. They will never see those things. They will die here like all the others. Maria looked at him with eyes that held no fear. Because as long as they remember where they came from, you have not truly conquered them. And because someday, someone is going to come for us. And when they do, these children will know what they are fighting for. The guard laughed. No one is coming for you. No one has ever challenged the Empire and lived. Maria smiled. Then I suppose we will be the first. The guard did not understand. He did not know about the hundreds of ships now being prepared in human space. He did not know about the soldiers being trained, the weapons being built, the plans being made. He did not know that humanity had been given a reason to show the galaxy what they were capable of. The Empire had made a mistake. They had thought humans were soft. They had thought humans were weak. They had thought humans would be easy to break. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Admiral William Harrison was 63 years old. He had been in the Navy for 40 years. He had commanded ships in 3 wars and countless skirmishes. He had never lost a battle, never abandoned a crew member, never backed down from a fight. When he received the order to lead the rescue mission, he felt something he had not felt in years. It was not fear. It was not excitement. It was something deeper, something older. It was the feeling a wolf gets when its pack is threatened. "How long until the fleet is ready?" he asked his flag captain. 2 weeks, sir. We are gathering ships from across human space. The president has authorized full mobilization. Good. What do we know about Corthax Prime? The captain pulled up a holographic display. The planet was large and gray, with a thin atmosphere and vast underground complexes. It is a mining world, sir. The Vexari use slave labor to extract rare minerals. According to intelligence, there are approximately 50,000 slaves on the planet, including our 12,000 colonists. Harrison studied the display. Defenses. Extensive. Orbital platforms, ground-based weapons, a garrison of 20,000 soldiers, and the Vexari Third Fleet is stationed in the system. 40 warships, including 2 dreadnoughts. Is that all? Harrison asked. His voice was dry, almost amused. The captain blinked. Sir, that is a significant force. Our fleet will be outnumbered at least 2 to 1. Harrison turned to look at him. Let me tell you something about numbers, Captain. Numbers do not win wars. Determination wins wars. Will wins wars. And right now, every single human in this fleet has more determination and more will than the entire Vexari Empire. He pointed at the display. Those are our people down there, our families, our friends, our fellow humans. The Vexari took them because they thought we would not fight back. They thought we were weak. They thought we were afraid. He smiled. It was not a nice smile. They were wrong, and now they are going to learn what happens when you take something that belongs to humanity. The captain stood a little straighter. Yes, sir. What are your orders? Gather the fleet, train the crews, prepare for war. Harrison's eyes were hard and cold. In 2 weeks we are going to Corthax Prime, and we are going to bring our people home, whatever it takes. The human fleet gathered at the edge of the solar system. Ships came from Earth, from Mars, from the colonies of Alpha Centauri and Tau Ceti. They came from mining stations and research outposts and trading vessels. They came from everywhere humans had spread among the stars. There were battleships and cruisers, frigates and destroyers. There were troop transports filled with soldiers. There were medical ships and supply vessels. It was the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled. And at its head was Admiral Harrison, standing on the bridge of his flagship, the UHS Vengeance. All ships report ready, sir, his communications officer said. Harrison looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, 12,000 of his people were suffering. Somewhere out there, children were crying for their parents. Somewhere out there, men and women were wondering if anyone would come for them. Signal the fleet, he said. We jump in 1 hour. He turned to face his crew. They were young and old, men and women from every nation and every background. But in that moment they were all the same. They were all human, and they were all angry. I know you are afraid, Harrison said. I am afraid too. We are going into the heart of enemy territory. We are facing a force that has never been defeated. Many of us will not come back. He paused. But I also know this. We are not fighting for territory. We are not fighting for resources. We are not fighting for pride or glory or any of the things that empires fight for. We are fighting for our people, and that makes all the difference. He raised his fist. We are human. We do not abandon our own. We do not forget. We do not forgive. And we do not lose. The crew cheered. The sound echoed through the ship and was picked up by the communications system and transmitted to every vessel in the fleet. Across hundreds of ships, thousands of men and women heard their admiral's words and felt their fear turn to determination. 1 hour later, the fleet jumped to hyperspace. The stars stretched into lines of light, and then they were gone. The Empire did not know it yet, but its time was running out. On Corthax Prime, Maria Santos looked up at the night sky. The stars were different here, strange and unfamiliar, but somewhere among them was Earth. Somewhere among them was home. "They are coming," she whispered. "I know they are." Beside her, David Chen nodded. "I can feel it. Something is happening. The guards are nervous. They have doubled the patrols." "Maybe they know," Maria said. "Maybe they have heard that help is on the way." David smiled. "Then we need to be ready. When our people arrive, we need to be ready to help them." "How? We have no weapons, we have no ships, we are prisoners." David's smile widened. "We have something better than weapons, Maria. We have 12,000 angry humans who have been waiting for this moment for weeks. When the time comes, we will be ready." Maria looked at him. Then she looked at the other prisoners sleeping in their barracks, dreaming of freedom. They had been through so much. They had suffered so much, but they had not broken. Not one of them had broken. "Yes," she said, "we will be ready." Above them, the stars continued to shine, and somewhere in the darkness between them, a fleet of human ships was racing toward them, carrying with it the fury of an entire species. The Empire had made a mistake, and now it was time to pay. Admiral Zorthan received the news 3 days before the human fleet arrived. His intelligence officers reported a massive force heading toward the system. The reports were fragmentary, confusing, impossible. "How many ships?" he demanded. We are not certain, Admiral. At least 200, perhaps more." Zorthan's mandibles clicked in disbelief. 200. That is not possible. The humans do not have 200 ships. "They do now, Admiral. According to our sources, they have gathered vessels from across their territory. Civilian ships have been converted to military use. Reserve fleets have been activated. It appears that the capture of their colony has provoked a response." Zorthan felt the first stirring of doubt. He had expected the humans to protest, perhaps to send diplomats or threaten sanctions. He had not expected this. "Very well," he said. "We will meet them in battle, prepare the fleet, move the orbital platforms to defensive positions, and increase the guard on the prisoners." His second-in-command, Krath, stepped forward. "Admiral, perhaps we should consider negotiation. We could release the humans, avoid the conflict entirely." Zorthan turned to him, his eyes blazing with anger. "Release them? Show weakness? Never. The Empire does not negotiate with lesser species. The Empire does not surrender. If the humans want a fight, we will give them one, and we will crush them utterly." He turned back to the viewing screen. "Send a message to High Command. Tell them we are about to teach the humans a lesson they will never forget." But deep in his mind, in a place he would not acknowledge, a small voice whispered that perhaps the lesson would go the other way. The human fleet emerged from hyperspace like a storm breaking over a peaceful sea. Ships of every size and type filled the void, their weapons systems powered and ready. At their head was the Vengeance, its hull gleaming in the light of the distant sun. Admiral Harrison studied the tactical display. The Vexari fleet was moving to intercept. Orbital platforms were rotating toward them. Ground defenses were activating. "Signal from the Vexari flagship, sir," his communications officer said. "They are demanding that we surrender immediately." Harrison laughed. It was a cold sound without humor. "Send them our reply." "What should I say, sir?" Harrison looked at the display one more time. Somewhere down there, on that gray and lifeless world, 12,000 of his people were waiting. "Tell them we have come for what belongs to us. Tell them they have 1 hour to release our citizens and withdraw from the system. If they do not, we will destroy their fleet, break their defenses, and take our people by force. And then we will burn everything they have built here to the ground." The communications officer swallowed hard. "Yes, sir." The message was sent. An hour later they had their answer. The Vexari refused. Harrison nodded slowly. Very well, all ships battle stations, weapons free. He took a deep breath. Let us show them what humans are made of. The Battle of Cortex Prime had begun. The battle began in the cold silence of space. Missiles flew between the fleets, leaving trails of fire against the darkness. Energy beams sliced through the void, cutting through shields and armor. Ships exploded in brilliant flashes of light, each one representing hundreds of lives lost. The Vexari fought well. They had centuries of experience, advanced technology, and the confidence of an empire that had never known defeat. Their formation was tight, their tactics sound, their weapons powerful. But the humans fought better. Every human ship attacked with a fury that the Vexari had never encountered. Captains took risks that no sane commander would consider. Crews performed feats that should have been impossible. Ships that should have retreated pressed forward. Ships that should have died kept fighting. The Vexari destroyed one human cruiser. Its crew transferred all remaining power to the engines and rammed their dying ship into a Vexari dreadnought. The explosion destroyed both vessels. Another human ship, crippled and burning, continued to fire its weapons until the very last moment. Its captain died with his hand on the firing control, taking 3 enemy ships with him. Admiral Harrison watched the battle unfold. He saw his ships dying, he saw his people dying, and he felt no regret, only cold, hard determination. "Signal the ground assault teams," he said. "The path is clear, begin the landing." Down on the planet's surface, the real battle was about to begin. The first human dropships hit the ground near the main mining complex. They were met with heavy resistance. Vexari soldiers poured out of the bunkers, their weapons blazing. The air was filled with smoke and fire and the screams of the dying. But the humans kept coming. Major Sarah Okonkwo led her platoon through the chaos. She had been a Marine for 15 years, had fought in half a dozen conflicts, had earned every medal the Alliance could give her. But she had never fought like this before. She had never had this much rage burning in her heart. "Move, move, move," she shouted. "Get to those mine shafts, our people are down there." A Vexari soldier rose up in front of her. He was 8 feet tall, armed with a plasma rifle covered in armored scales. He should have been terrifying. Sarah shot him in the face and kept moving. "How far to the entrance?" she asked her sergeant. 200 meters, Major, but there is heavy resistance. They have fortified the—" He was cut off by an explosion. Sarah threw herself behind a rock, pulling a wounded soldier with her. "We need to break through," she said. "We need to get to those prisoners." "Ma'am, we do not have the firepower. They have us pinned down." Sarah looked around. Her platoon was scattered, taking cover behind rocks and debris. The Vexari had the high ground and the superior position. By any reasonable analysis, they were beaten. But Sarah was not feeling reasonable. "Give me a grenade," she said. "Ma'am, give me a grenade and cover me." She took the grenade in her hand and looked at the Vexari position. It was 50 meters away, across open ground. The chances of making it were small. The chances of surviving were smaller. She did not care. "For New Geneva," she whispered. Then she ran. The Vexari saw her coming. They opened fire. Energy beams cracked past her close enough to feel the heat. Bullets tore up the ground at her feet. She felt something hit her shoulder, felt blood running down her arm, felt pain that she pushed aside. She reached the fortification. She threw the grenade. She heard the explosion, felt the shockwave, saw the Vexari soldiers falling. And then she was over the wall, into their position, firing her rifle until it was empty and then using it as a club. Other humans poured in behind her, their guns blazing, their voices raised in fury. The Vexari broke and ran. Sarah stood in the middle of the conquered position, breathing hard, her uniform soaked with blood that was both hers and not hers. Her sergeant ran up to her. his face pale. "Ma'am, you are wounded. You need medical attention." Sarah shook her head. "Later, we have work to do." She pointed at the mine entrance, now undefended. "Our people are waiting." In the mines below, the prisoners heard the sounds of battle. Explosions echoed through the tunnels. The walls shook. Dust fell from the ceiling. Maria Santos gathered the children around her. "It is going to be okay," she said. "Help is coming. Just stay calm and stay together." "Are they coming to save us?" asked the little girl, her eyes wide with hope and fear. Maria smiled. "Yes, they are coming to save us. I promised you, did I not? I promised that they would come." The sounds of fighting grew closer. They could hear gunfire now and shouting. The Vexari guards looked nervous. Some of them began to back away from their posts. David Chen moved through the prisoners, whispering instructions. "Be ready. When the moment comes, we move. We help however we can." "We have no weapons," someone said. "We have our hands, we have our courage, we have each other." David's voice was calm, steady. "We have survived this long. We can survive a little longer." The main door to the prison level burst open. Human soldiers poured through, their weapons up, their faces grim and determined. "DOWN, everyone down," shouted the lead soldier. The prisoners dropped to the floor. The soldiers opened fire on the remaining guards. The battle was brief and brutal. When it was over, the guards were dead, and the soldiers were walking among the prisoners, helping them up, checking their injuries. Maria Santos stood on shaking legs. A soldier approached her, a young woman with kind eyes and blood on her uniform. "Ma'am, are you okay?" Maria could not speak. She could only nod. And then she was crying, tears streaming down her face, all the fear and hope and despair of the past weeks pouring out of her. The soldier put an arm around her. "It is okay. You are safe now. We are going to take you home." "You came," Maria whispered. "You actually came." "Of course we did," the soldier said. "You are one of us. We do not leave our people behind." All around them, prisoners were being freed from their cells, reunited with family members, led toward the surface. Children were crying. Adults were hugging. Soldiers were smiling for the first time in weeks. They had done it. They had actually done it. But the battle was not over yet. In orbit, the battle raged on. Admiral Harrison stood on the bridge of the Vengeance, watching the tactical display. The Vexari fleet was crumbling. Half their ships were destroyed or disabled. The rest were falling back, trying to regroup. But they had not given up yet. "Sir, the enemy flagship is charging weapons," his tactical officer reported. "They are targeting the transport ships." Harrison felt his blood run cold. The transport ships were carrying the rescued prisoners, if they were destroyed. "All ships protect those transports," he ordered. "Get between them and the enemy." The human fleet responded instantly. Ships that were damaged, ships that were dying, ships that should have retreated, all of them moved to shield the vulnerable transports. The Vexari flagship fired. A massive beam of energy lanced across the void, aimed at the heart of the human formation. The UHS Defiant, a cruiser that had been fighting since the battle began, threw itself into the path of the beam. The ship was already damaged, its shields at 10%, its hull breached in a dozen places. It did not matter. "This is Captain Rodriguez of the Defiant," came a voice over the comm. "We are moving to intercept. Get those transports out of here." "Rodriguez, no," Harrison shouted. "Fall back, that is an order." "Sorry, Admiral, cannot hear you, must be interference." The beam hit the Defiant. For a moment the cruiser seemed to glow with white light. Then it exploded, a brilliant flash that lit up the void. But it had done its job. The transports were safe. "Captain Rodriguez," Harrison's voice was thick with emotion. Damn you and your heroic soul." He turned to his crew. "Finish it, destroy that flagship." The human fleet surged forward. Every ship that could still fight poured fire into the Vexari flagship. Missiles, energy beams, railgun rounds, everything they had. The flagship tried to flee. It was too late. Its shields collapsed, its armor cracked, its hull breached. Admiral Zorthan stood on his bridge as the ship fell apart around him. He had been so certain, so confident. He had thought the humans would be easy prey. How, he whispered, how is this possible? His second-in-command, Krath, was dying nearby, his blood pooling on the deck. I tried to warn you, he said. The humans, they are not like other species. They do not know when to quit. Zorthan looked at the viewing screen. He saw human ships everywhere, firing, advancing, winning. He saw his fleet being destroyed. He saw his empire crumbling. What have we done? He said. Then the bridge exploded, and Admiral Zorthan ceased to exist. The Battle of Korthax Prime was over. The Vexari fleet was destroyed. The planetary defenses were silent. The prisoners were safe, being transported to medical ships where they would be treated and cared for. Admiral Harrison stood on the bridge of the Vengeance and watched the last Vexari ship surrender. His uniform was rumpled, his face was tired, but his eyes were bright with satisfaction. Signal the fleet, he said. Victory. The cheers that erupted were heard across every ship. Men and women who had fought and bled and watched their friends die finally allowed themselves to celebrate. They had done it. They had beaten the Vexari. They had rescued their people. Harrison did not cheer. He walked to the viewing port and looked down at the planet below. So much destruction, so much death, so many lives lost on both sides. Was it worth it? Asked his flag captain quietly. Harrison thought of the prisoners they had saved. He thought of the children who would grow up free. He thought of the families that would be reunited. Yes, he said, it was worth it. He paused, but we are not done yet. The Empire still exists. They will want revenge for this. We need to be ready. What do you mean, sir? Harrison turned to face him. I mean, this was just the beginning. The Empire thought they could take our people without consequences. They were wrong. And now they need to learn that there are some species in this galaxy that you do not provoke. He looked back at the stars. We are going to teach them that lesson, and they will never forget it. On the medical ship Hope, Maria Santos sat beside a hospital bed. In the bed was one of her students, a boy named Michael who had been sick for days. He was going to survive, the doctors said. He just needed rest. She held his hand and watched him sleep. His face was thin and pale but peaceful. He was safe now. They all were. A soldier appeared in the doorway. It was Major Okonkwo, her arm in a sling, her face tired but smiling. Ma'am, we will be jumping to Earth soon. Thought you might want to watch from the observation deck. Maria nodded. She stood up slowly, her body still weak from weeks of poor food and hard labor. Thank you, Major, for everything. Okonkwo shrugged. Just doing my job, ma'am. No, Maria said. You did more than that. You and everyone else who came for us. You risked your lives. Many of you died for us, for strangers. Okonkwo was quiet for a moment. Then she said, You were not strangers, ma'am. You were family. Every human is family. That is what the Empire did not understand. That is why they lost. She smiled. Now come on, let us go watch the stars. They walked together to the observation deck. It was filled with rescued prisoners, soldiers, and crew members, all gathered to watch as the ship prepared to jump. The stars stretched into lines of light, and then they were moving, flying through the void, heading home. Maria stood at the window and watched the universe flow past. She thought about everything that had happened, the fear, the pain, the hope, and the rescue. The Empire had taken her people. They had thought they could break them. They had been wrong. Because humans did not break, humans fought back. Humans came for their own. And heaven help anyone who got in their way. The news of the Battle of Korthax Prime spread across the galaxy. Every species, every empire, every civilization heard the story. 12,000 humans had been captured. An entire fleet had come for them. The Vexari had been crushed. The reactions varied. Some species were impressed, some were frightened, some were confused. The ambassador from the Keyleth Federation spoke to his government. The humans lost dozens of ships, thousands of lives, all for 12,000 civilians. It does not make sense. The cost was far greater than the benefit. An advisor spoke up. Perhaps they do not calculate cost and benefit the way we do. Then how do they calculate? The advisor was silent for a long moment. Then he said, I do not think they calculate at all. I think they simply act. When one of them is threatened, all of them respond. It is instinct. The ambassador considered this. Then we must be careful, very careful. A species that acts on instinct, that does not count the cost, that will sacrifice everything for its own, is dangerous, the advisor finished. Very, very dangerous. The ambassador nodded. Send a message to the humans. Tell them we wish to open diplomatic relations, and tell them we have no interest in being their enemy. Yes, sir. Across the galaxy, similar conversations were happening. Species that had never paid attention to humans were suddenly very interested. Empires that had considered them weak were reconsidering. Everyone was asking the same question. What kind of species would do this? The answer was becoming clear. A species that should never be underestimated. The Vexari Empire was in chaos. The destruction of the Third Fleet was the greatest military defeat in their history. The loss of Admiral Zorthan was a blow to their leadership, and the humiliation of being beaten by humans of all species was almost too much to bear. The Emperor himself called a meeting of his war council. He was old, even by Vexari standards, and his rage was terrible to behold. How did this happen? He demanded. How did we lose to these soft, weak creatures? No one answered. No one wanted to be the focus of the Emperor's anger. We underestimated them, said a voice from the back of the room. It was old General Vrex, the only member of the council who had fought against humans before. I warned against taking those colonists. I said the humans would respond. You said nothing of the kind, the Emperor snapped. I said it in my reports, which were ignored. Vrex stepped forward. Your Majesty, the humans are not like other species. They do not think like us. They do not fight like us. They value each individual life in a way that we cannot understand. That is weakness, the Emperor said. No, Vrex replied. It is strength. Because they value each life, they will fight to protect each life. They will sacrifice anything, risk anything to save their own. We saw this at Korthax Prime. We will see it again if we continue this war. The Emperor was silent for a long moment. Then he said, What do you suggest? Peace, Vrex said. Return any other human prisoners we hold, apologize for what was done, and hope that they accept. Apologize. The Empire does not apologize. Then the Empire will fall, Vrex said simply. Not today, not tomorrow, but eventually. Because we have made an enemy that will never stop, never surrender, never forgive. An enemy that will keep coming until one of us is destroyed. He looked around the room. The question is, do we want to be that enemy? The Emperor sat in silence. The War Council waited. Finally, the Emperor spoke. Send a message to the humans. Tell them we wish to discuss peace. It was the hardest thing he had ever said, but it was also the wisest. The Empire had made a mistake, and now they were paying for it. 1 month later, a peace conference was held on neutral ground. Representatives from the Vexari Empire and the United Human Alliance sat across from each other at a long table. The Vexari offered reparations. They offered territory. They offered a formal apology, the first in their 3,000-year history. President Vasquez accepted. She was not a vengeful person. She understood that continued war would only mean more death, more suffering, more pain. Peace was the better choice. But before she signed the treaty, she said something that the Vexari would never forget. Let this be a lesson, she said. Not just to you, but to every empire, every civilization, every species in this galaxy. Humanity does not seek war. We do not want conquest. We do not desire power over others. She leaned forward. But if you take our people, if you hurt our children, if you threaten our families, we will come for you. We will cross the galaxy to find you. We will sacrifice everything to stop you, and we will never, ever give up. She stood up. Remember that, and we will have peace. The treaty was signed. The war was over. But the lesson remained. Years later, Maria Santos returned to New Geneva. The colony had been rebuilt, bigger and better than before. New settlers had arrived. New buildings had been constructed. Life had returned to the planet that had seen so much pain. She walked through the streets she remembered, past the school where she had taught, past the houses where her friends had lived. Everything was different, but everything was the same. She stopped at a memorial in the center of town. It was a simple stone pillar with names carved into it. The names of those who had died during the attack. The names of those who had died in captivity. The names of those who had given their lives in the rescue. She read each name slowly, remembering each face. "They did not die in vain," said a voice behind her. She turned. It was David Chen, older now with gray in his hair and lines on his face, but his eyes were the same, kind and wise and full of hope. "I know," she said, "but I still miss them." "So do I." He walked up to stand beside her. "But they would be proud of what we have built, what we have become." Maria looked around at the thriving colony. Children were playing in the streets. People were laughing, talking, living. It was everything they had fought for. "Yes," she said, "they would be proud." She touched the memorial one last time. Then she turned and walked away, back to the life she had almost lost, back to the future she had almost been denied. Behind her, the names on the stone seemed to glow in the setting sun, a reminder of the price that had been paid, a reminder of the sacrifice that had been made, a reminder that humanity would always fight for its own. Always. In the centuries that followed, the story of Korthax Prime became legend. It was taught in schools across human space. It was told around campfires on distant colonies. It was remembered whenever humans faced impossible odds. And it served as a warning to any who thought to threaten humanity. Because the galaxy had learned a simple truth. You can fight humanity. You can hurt humanity. You can even conquer humanity for a time. But you cannot break humanity. You cannot make them give up. You cannot make them abandon their own. And if you try, if you take their people, if you harm their children, they will come for you. And they will never stop. The Empire made the mistake of capturing human civilians. And they paid everything.